If I had to give you one recommendation in this video, is that you should never rush to buy a winter coat at full price. It's finally coat season, and I wanted to share with you how I would shop for a new designer coat if I needed one. For Max Mara, my general recommendation is to start with Yoox, which is where I would always start looking for a coat. Just go to their coats section, and of course, because they have quite a lot, I would try to filter it out as we have discussed in the previous videos. So for example, we will go for classic coats. Maybe you also want to go for some trench coats and potentially more puffer style coats. We will also cover Max Mara the Cube in a bit, so we will also see what they have for that. You can of course also just select all of their coat category without applying any filters. So what do we see mainly here? We have some teddy or teddy-like coats here. As you can see, it's not exactly the teddy model, but it's something quite similar. This one has different sleeves, as you can see here on the side, and also the pockets are slightly different. We also have this teddy in reddish, orangey, dark orangey color, which I think is a fantastic price point if this is your preference, if this is your color, and if you like this style. So 1,200 is definitely a great price here. What I would just tell you to consider is, of course, go to the store if you can try it out before buying any of these coats, whether if you buy it in the store or online, simply because you need to really get a feel of how it sits on you, but also to understand, especially with the teddy, for example, I know they tend to be oversized, and this is always the warning you get, but I personally find that even though they recommend me to take an S or an XS, the sleeves are too short for me. So I know that I would not want to buy a teddy in a size S or XS because I simply don't like their sleeves. Another option here is that you have the various teddy styles. As you know, Max Mara does come out every other year with different stylings of the teddy, so a bit more cropped, with a belt, without a belt, more vest style. So you have these options here as well. The material composition tends to be pretty much the same as the original teddy. So you have the alpaca wool, the normal wool, and some silk in it. I personally cannot use something like this where I live. It's simply too cold, so it would not be applicable for me. Another one of the classic Max Maras here is this version of the Madame coat. You don't see it here with the belt, but I'm sure it would come with a belt. Interesting pastel yellow color. The material composition is identical to that of the Madame. If you like this color, this pastel yellow, it's a really good price point at 1,366 euros. You also have other variations of coats that I personally am not so familiar with, but given the Max Mara brand and overall quality, I'm sure they're very recommendable. This one also has a nice combination of alpaca wool, cashmere, normal wool, camel wool, and another kind of wool in it. So overall seems like very solid choices at almost at 1,400 euros. This one here is another interesting variation for me of the teddy, very oversized. So this area is huge, really widens your shoulders, I would say. I like the fact that it has this cape detail at the back. I think that's quite nice, but just huge. I personally have really wide shoulders, so this would be really awkward for me to wear. The color is fantastic though. Then you have this shorter version of the Madame, which again is a coat they have been bringing out regularly every year in different colors. So I think if you like the style, or maybe if you live in countries with warmer weather, this is definitely a great choice. And as you can see, at some point it was retailing for about 700 euros. I would definitely keep this in my dream box. As you can see, there are many still available if these are your sizes. So the price will continue to go down. And if this is a coat you like, I would definitely recommend you to consider it. Here you have another variation of it, or looks like another variation of it. Let's have a look at the material composition. No, this one is more expensive because it's a 100% cashmere coat, unlike the original Madame, which is not 100% cashmere, which now explains why this price is higher. Also a fantastic looking coat. So very, very much Max Mara stitching, Max Mara details, really pretty coat. Unfortunately, I cannot comment on the price. I would just tell you that I do find it quite high, but again, it's 100% cashmere, so it's understandable. Variation of the teddy in blue, some sleeveless coats again, which, like I said, I can definitely definitely appreciate how they look. Like this one, for example, this teddy vest. However, for me, it would just be too impractical to own something like this given the weather conditions in winter where I live. I would get so little use of it, and it is quite expensive as it is. Some other very cool variations. Sometimes you would see this sort of trench coats from these materials in the store. This is another very nice variation of the teddy, which I know is quite popular. You see them come out really every year. So if this is something that works for you, it's definitely very recommendable. I think I've already recommended this version of the Madame, but to keep it for now because the price is still pretty high. Another version of the teddy available here. If you like these details, again, I think white is such a brave color. So if that works for you, I applaud you. Wanted to go for slightly cheaper versions, I would start first with Max Mara Studio, which are also known to be very good quality coats, but at a cheaper price point. So I would just look for that particular category, for that particular designer, because what we were looking at now was strictly Max Mara. And then I would filter out for, again, coats, long jackets, and start looking here what they have. So for example, this beige version at $963, probably still not really cheap. I would just save it in my dream box, but very nice details. You can see the typical Max Mara stitching. This would also be a great option, and it is 100% cashmere. To buy this from the actual Max Mara brand, this would be, I imagine, a lot more expensive. You can see that, of course, the tag is a little bit different to the classic Max Mara, but I think Max Mara Studio has great quality overall. More variation for a fantastic price point is this white coat. Again, if you're very brave, but as you can see, they also have it in this fantastic camel color. Such a nice coat. I mean, besides the button details, I don't think I would be able to really tell this is not almost identical to a Manuela. Of course, yes, the buttons give it away, but the details, for example, up here are basically identical to the Manuela. And this one is made out of 100% wool. Yes, the Manuela has a different material composition, but this price is just fantastic. And another variation which we could go for, even cheaper than Max Mara and Max Mara Studio, is S Max Mara, which I also have a lot of their items, not coats, but I have other clothes from them, and they really have good prices here on Yoox. So this is definitely a good starting level coat if you don't want to go and spend so much money on Max Mara at the beginning, or simply you say you're not willing to give that kind of money away for the time being. So as you can see, the prices are also lower than the normal Max Mara. I think the materials will be a little bit different. Maybe the stitching too, the details is not as precise, but they are definitely good quality coats. This one is made out of 100% wool, very nice camel color. This one kind of gives this teddy vibes, but with a belt. I personally prefer coats with a belt, so this would work for me. I think this is a great price point as one, which would definitely continue to go down if this is not sold. And you have, again, this mix of alpaca wool and normal wool here. And then breaking away a little bit from the classic coats, but still covering the Max Mara world, I think it's also worth mentioning to have a look at Max Mara the Cube. I think the issue is that for Yoox specifically, it is not the best website to probably purchase these items because their choice is quite limited. As you can see, there is only 6 items here, but these are more like puffer style coats or coats that go under your actual Max Mara coat. So I have 2 of their vests, something similar to this style, and I would just wear it under the Max Mara coat that I'm wearing in case it's quite cold, so it gives you a little bit more warmth. So I would definitely recommend you to take a look at a website like Mytheresa for more items from Max Mara the Cube, which are sort of like the latest that they have. Do not buy them at full price. They will go on sale. Either you save it here, as you see, some of them are already on sale, or you just save it in your wish list, note the model, and we look for it in other websites. It will become available. Please do not buy it at full price. And back to Yoox and covering another brand. Of course, I could not leave out Moncler. So you can check out my other video where I cover my Moncler coat, which I bought probably in 2015. Fantastic coat. I bought it on sale. It was 50% off. I love it. I use it every year. It's really great. Yoox doesn't have such a large variety of coats from Moncler, but they bring them every once in a while. So here you can just get a feel for the selection and the prices, which I think are okay. They are probably comparable with the outlet prices. Again, you have a relatively nice beige coat if beige is your color. This is a good Moncler coat at size 3, but as you can see, it was a lot cheaper before. So again, this would be one of those cases where I would just recommend to save it on the side. Just have a look at this example. So what I would do here, this seems like 1,100 euros for this coat. Again, given today's Moncler prices, it doesn't seem so crazy. It tells you that the retail price is 1,600 euros. What I would actually do here is I would probably save this image. Now we are going to do a Google AI search. So I'm going to upload the file. And we basically put the picture here. And I want to get a feel first, what is the model name? So, okay, I see the model name here. And I also want to understand how the pricing is. So, of course, we see the Yoox one, but that doesn't help us very much. I want to understand, is it a classic? Is it not? Sometimes this is what I do in order to understand what I'm about to buy. Okay, Bräuninger is a very common online shop here in the region where I live. So you can see basically the exact same coat for 1,390 euros. Let's just have a look. Yeah, it's also nice to get a feel how another model is wearing it, how the sizing information is given, because we do not see this always on Yoox. Okay, so there is a nice little belt, which I think we also saw there. So 1,390, 1,100. It's already an indication that it is cheaper. Again, probably would recommend to still wait, although it's difficult to say with Moncler because their prices are quite high. Another brand that I cannot not mention is Burberry. It's difficult for me to recommend Burberry because I have not bought items from Burberry in so many years, although I do own some. Just as a side comment, I did go to their outlet shop here outside of Vienna a couple of weeks ago, and I felt like the quality was really just poor. I could not understand why I would spend money on these coats there. So I think on average they were anywhere from like 200 to 500 euros. But I was so displeased, like with these woolen coats. I could not. When you touch the material, it feels like you can maybe even see it from the picture here. It felt like, why would I want to spend so much money on a coat that probably in Zara or Mango I could get something quite similar? Please don't come at me. I know this brand is very popular, or it's at least making a comeback now. So this was just my opinion, having owned some of their items in the past and now owning other brands, like Max Mara, for example. I would not give my money to them. But as you can see on Yoox, you really do have a good selection. I'm afraid I cannot comment on the prices because I have not been to the actual retail Burberry shop in the city in many, many years. Yeah, so I really cannot say whether these prices are attractive, or even if these models are sort of like classic models or they are just outlet models. I can't say, but as you can see, you have a pretty good variation here. So this is also worth looking at directly on Yoox. And before shifting to mainly puffers, let's have a look at Toteme, because Toteme is a brand that does the classic coats as well as the puffer coats. Toteme is a good brand to also purchase on Yoox. They have a good variation, although you can also buy them on sale in other websites, which I will show you. So let's just have a look at the classic coats that they have here as well. So about 12 items. I think the prices on Yoox are good. This is a classic coat, for example, the black one and this camel one. So really good variation. This is almost half the price, half the retail price. So it's definitely a good option. It's made out of 90% wool and 10% cashmere. And I think both colors are classic. With Toteme, you can't really go wrong with the colors if you like this neutral palette, because all they produce is very neutral. So it just works with everything. So they have a very good variation here. Also definitely worth looking in Mytheresa for their items, because they will have it here and they also always have sales. So when I apply just the general coat filter, you can see that there are a lot of items. Obviously, most of the newest seasons are available here, like this fantastic cashmere coat. I would personally not spend 2,800 or even 1,400, so at 50% off on a cashmere coat from Toteme, because I still cannot associate Toteme with like the world's best coat maker, so to speak. You also have this very popular coat with the scarf variation, which I know comes also in the short version. So this is also here. Again, if you like it, it's amazing. Please just save it and wait for the sale to start. The outlet would also have Toteme items. So if you're looking for them in general, and especially for coats, you would also find them here. So you see some more variations of the trench is available. This long puffer-ish, like it's more kilted, so it's not really thick, is also available here for $291, which is a fantastic price. And I also want to let you know that if you can register to the Toteme website, a couple of times a year, they would do a sale, and some of these items would be available there for a great price. 3 other brands that I would recommend you to look at, which are cheaper and not maybe as popular. One of them being Mackage. I don't own anything directly from Mackage, but I definitely have my eye on this brand. I just find them to be very, very heavy whenever I try them in the store. I understand they are really good in terms of protecting you from the cold. I think I would probably end up buying something like this from them. So some ski pants or a ski overall, even though I don't ski, but it's just in case I would have to go to the mountains and I need to wear something nice and warm. Another brand which is also very popular for winter coats is Moose Knuckles. I do not own anything for them, but I have purchased Moose Knuckles items for my husband, and he's very, very happy with their coats. They are also very heavy, at least the version that I bought for him. I think it supposedly protects you up to minus 20 degrees Celsius. He's very happy with it, but it's really a big puffer coat. So here they have a combination of items, so not just coats, also some sweaters, t-shirts, shorts, and some accessories. Definitely worth looking at, and definitely worth saving in case you find some attractive prices here. And last but not least is Save the Duck. Save the Duck is basically a vegan coat brand or clothing brand. I do own basically a very similar coat to my Moncler from this brand. I'm super happy with it because it is such low maintenance. So it's relatively warm, or as warm as the Moncler coat. You can just throw it in the washing machine and hang it dry, and it dries. It's basically like new. It's a really, really good value for your money. So this here, for example, with this little bell detail, is a fantastic coat. I think it's a fantastic alternative to the Moncler coat that we saw before. Also, this white one is great. Here on Yoox, you will find different ones. They do bring new ones every once in a while. So I definitely recommend to consider this. Also, if you're looking for a coat that you don't have to, I don't want to say baby, but take care so much about, this is a great brand. They have really good attention to detail. I also bought mine on sale some years ago, and I have to say, definitely a recommendation for me. So if you would like me to do a review for the Save the Duck code, and maybe for the Save the Duck coat, and maybe compare it to other ones, let me know. I hope you found this video useful. Let me know what are the next items you would like me to review, or any new guides that you would like me to do for certain websites or certain brands, and I'll see you in the next video.